Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we are completely uncovering the invisible energy economy that literally runs the universe. Have you ever stopped to wonder what actually fuels the blink of an eye, the budding of a flower, or even the splitting of atoms? We usually think about energy in terms of, calories or electricity, but ancient yogis living high up in the Himalayas discovered a much more profound universal force. They called it prana. And today, we're going to decode exactly what this force is, how you are spending it every single day, and most importantly, how you can actually bank more of it to totally transform your mind and body. So think about this for a second. Why does standing next to a roaring waterfall or just breathing that crisp air high up in the mountains instantly make you feel incredibly alive and rejuvenated? And on the flip side, why does sitting in a stuffy office with recycled air leave you feeling completely drained, even if you literally haven't done any physical labor all day? Well, the answer lies in an ancient concept that we are about to decode using modern environmental science. All right, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The universe's hidden battery. 2. Mind and motion combined. 3. Your personal energy bank. 4. Fueling up with nature and food. 5. Master your conscious breath. And 6. Unlocking your cosmic potential. Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1, the universe's hidden battery and the Big Bang of prana. We often kind of misunderstand this concept, right? We usually just translate prana to mean breath or oxygen, but honestly, that is barely scratching the surface. Prana is the inherent quality of motion in creation. It is the literal livingness behind everything. The wind blows, rivers flow, airplanes fly, and even laser beams and radio waves travel entirely because of prana. It's this dynamic principle that gives existence and material form to a massive asteroid in space just as much as a tiny blade of grass in your backyard. Think of it literally like a giant, invisible cosmic Wi-Fi network. Every single object in creation is floating in this vast, all-encompassing sea of prana, basically downloading exactly what it needs to maintain its existence. The source texts tell us that if this prana were suddenly unplugged or withdrawn from the universe, there would be total disintegration. Everything would just fall apart instantly. It is the absolute foundation of all material reality.
Moving on to Section 2, Mind and Motion Combined, and the Core Duality.
To really understand this duality, we need to look at how this universal energy interacts with our own conscious minds. According to the ancient texts, everything boils down to a combination of two things: prana and chitta. Chitta is your consciousness. It's your being, your awareness, your knowledge. But on its own, it's completely dormant. Prana, on the other hand, is the active principle. It's the becoming, the manifestation, the motion. Both absolutely must be present for life to exist. You can kind of think of Chitta as the software on your computer and prana as the electrical current that actually turns the machine on and makes it do things. Which brings us to Section 3, your personal energy bank, and measuring the unmeasurable. Okay, to really prove that prana is so much more than just the oxygen we breathe, we've got to look at this absolutely wild experiment from the Menninger Foundation in the US. They took a yogi named Swami Nadabrahmananda and placed him inside this completely airtight glass chamber. And to make sure absolutely no air was slipping in, they smeared his body with wax and blocked his nose and ears. Inside similar airtight chambers right next to him, they placed a lit candle and a live monkey. The timeline here is just crazy. After just 3 minutes, the candle goes out from a lack of oxygen. After 15 minutes, the monkey falls completely unconscious. But the Swami? He sat there happily playing his tabla drum for over 40 minutes completely unfazed. No way, right? So during those 40 minutes, scientists were actually monitoring him with electrodes on his heart and brain. When they placed a microphone against his body, they heard this really loud, constant sound, exactly like a rushing waterfall. The Swami later explained that this roar was the movement of active pranas inside of him. He literally proved that a person continues to live as long as the pranas are active, even if you completely stop breathing oxygen. This shows us that a human being can basically act like a highly charged battery. A developed yogi stores such an incredible abundance of this energy that they can radiate megawatts of strength, health, and vitality to everyone around them. All right, Section 4, Fueling Up, Nature and Food. So a French researcher named André Simonetin came up with this really fascinating method to actually measure the pranic value of our food. He used a pendulum, sort of like a water diviner's dowsing tool, to measure the subtle radiations of organic matter in a unit called angstroms. He found that the basic human wavelength sits at about 6,500 angstroms. So to actually add to your energy bank, you need to eat foods radiating higher than that baseline. Fresh fruits, raw vegetables, and ocean fish. Category 1, radiate between 8,000 and 10,000 angstroms. That is a massive, high-frequency energy deposit right there. But look at Category 3, cooked meats, coffee, and white bread. They radiate way below 3,000 angstroms. He even found that overcooked and heavily processed foods had such low vitality they literally couldn't even make his pendulum move. But hey, food is only one part of the equation here. Let's revisit that waterfall question from the very beginning of this explainer. The quality of the air you breathe directly dictates your energy level, and science actually explains this through ions. Inside a closed room in a typical modern city, you're looking at maybe less than 50 negative ions per square foot. But high up in the mountains or standing near a rushing waterfall, you're soaking in about 5,000 negative ions per square foot. And here is exactly why that matters. The science shows that inhaling these negative ions significantly accelerates your blood's delivery of oxygen right to your cells and tissues. Now, negative ions are not prana themselves, but inhaling them acts as this super powerful catalyst that directly increases the overall level of prana in your body. That lethargic, brain fog feeling you get from a recycled indoor air, that is a direct result of ion depletion. So spending time in nature isn't just mentally relaxing for you, it is quite literally physically charging your cosmic battery. Next up, Section 5, Master Your Conscious Breath and the Prana Economy. We've talked a lot about how to get energy, but how exactly are you spending it? Yogis devised a brilliant way to measure our pranic outflow by simply looking at the physical length of our exhaled air. So the crucial point is this: the longer the air current leaving your nose, the more of your stored prana you're draining. A normal resting breath pushes air out about 9 inches, but when you're eating, it pushes out to 15 inches. When you sleep, it's 22 inches. During copulation, it's 27 inches, and obviously even more during heavy physical exercise. This right here is the entire foundation of pranayama, the practice of deliberately controlling and shortening the breath to conserve your precious life force. And trust me, you definitely want to conserve it because your brain requires an immense amount of power. The human brain utilizes the absolute maximum amount of prana out of your entire body. When your brain isn't supplied with enough of this energy, your mind just becomes incredibly restless. It dives straight into negative thoughts and irritability. Have you ever noticed how cranky, hangry you get when you haven't eaten or when you're fighting off a cold? That is literally your brain circuits protesting because your personal quantum of prana has dropped way too low. By practicing conscious, controlled breathing, you can capture the flighty mind by capturing the prana first. Finally, Section 6, Unlocking Your Cosmic Potential and Reaching the Source. So if you can actually stop draining your energy and start banking it through high-vitality food, nature exposure, and conscious breathing, profound things start to happen. It's often said that normally only 1/10 of the human brain is active. The other 90% remains totally dormant. Why? Because a staggering, massive quantum of prana is required for the whole brain to function simultaneously. Most of us just simply don't have the battery power to light up the rest of our potential. But sustained yogic practices can actually change that. It works a bit like this. Conscious breathing generates an intense internal heat, or creative force. This pushes your existing prana all the way up to the midbrain, the Ajna chakra. From there, a message is sent all the way down to the base of your spine, the Muladhara, where your dormant cosmic prana, known as Kundalini, is just sleeping. When this force is stirred and released, it travels right up the spine and causes a complete physical and mental metamorphosis. You are literally waking up the genius inside of you. Which leaves us with this incredibly powerful thought from the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. When prana moves, consciousness moves. When prana is without movement, consciousness is without movement. Ultimately, the secret to mastering your flighty, restless mind isn't found in constantly wrestling with your thoughts. It's actually found in mastering your environment, your food, and most importantly, your daily breath. If you can control the hidden battery of the universe within your own body, what dormant potentials might you finally wake up? Think about that next time you take a breath. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.